Chelsea are not surprised to see interest in winger Pedro Neto, but even so, they are determined not to let him go on the cheap. Chelsea have rejected Como's latest bid for Trevoh Chalobah, and every time this one feels like it's just about to get over the line, it just doesn't. Chelsea are now supposedly in talks with the camp of John Stones to get a deal over the line. There are some complicated elements to it, but the player seems keen. Chelsea are also potentially revisiting the deal for Bournemouth midfielder Alex Scott, whilst at the same time closing in on Bayer Leverkusen winger Kerim Alaibegovic, who may well be sent out on loan. Jesse Derry is already having a great time at Sporting Lisbon, scoring a golazo in his first game. The BBC have noticed some things about how new manager Xabi Alonso conducts his training sessions, and we find out when winger Giovanni Kenda will be able to join up with the squad for pre-season. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And not much in the way of positive transfer news since Maxence Lacroix got over the line, but let's have a look at what's going on today in the world of Chelsea. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Kieran Gill from the Daily Mail. Chelsea are not surprised by the reported interest in Pedro Neto, though would not allow him to leave on the cheap after noting the rising valuations of other wide men in this window. Chelsea are not actively touting Neto. So essentially all of the interest from Neto is external. We're not offering him to people. You know, there was some talks yesterday about Jorge Mendes, the agent of Pedro Neto, offering him to Saudi Arabia, but he looks like another player very much similar to the likes of Enzo Fernandez and Malo Gusto, that if we keep them around, we will be happy. Xabi Alonso is happy to have them as part of the squad, but if clubs come in with big bids for them, then it's likely that they'll be sold. And to be honest, in order to maximise the kind of profit that you can get from these players, this is 100% the right stance to be taking. You know, the likes of Disasi and Badiashile, people aren't knocking down our door for these players. We're having to go out and offer them out there and kind of make them a little bit more available. But with the likes of a Pedro Neto, like I said, Malo Gusto, Enzo Fernandez, at the end of the day, if there's some idea that we're like, yeah, we really want to get them out, then that will just drive their price down. And when we're potentially talking about so much money for these players, you know, that's not ideal. Pedro Neto is a really interesting one because he splits the fan base. We've got so many players that split the fan base at the moment. It's wild. But I think there's kind of two camps. One camp that thinks that his work rate is really important and he's a good player to keep around. We would love to see him at left wing back, for instance. And the other camp that thinks he doesn't offer enough to the team and would just be happy to see him go. I kind of fit in the middle, I guess, as I suppose some of you do as well. Like, and I feel the same about Malo Gusto, and I feel the same about Enzo Fernandez. All these players that I'm talking about are players that I will not be disappointed if we sell, but also I won't be disappointed if we start next season and they're in the team. Each one can definitely offer something, that's absolutely sure. Just whether they're the players I want to see on the pitch, like, you know, I don't want to see Malo Gusto in the starting 11 all the time. I'm not enamoured by seeing Pedro Neto all of the time. And if Enzo Fernandez were to stay, I don't even really know where he'd play at this point. So, you know, there's loads of questions about all of these players. Vis-a-vis Pedro Neto and the price, this window is just mental, man. Like, obviously, Vinicius Jr. is looking to sign a new deal with Real Madrid. Arsenal have just said that they were interested in him, and Real Madrid put it out there that they would be willing to accept 160 million euros for him. And that's a player with 1 year left on his deal. The Bradley Barcola to Liverpool news is starting to heat up a little bit as well, and a price has come out for him at 170 million euros. And it all kind of starts with Anthony Gordon to Barcelona for 70 million euros when he got 8 GA in the Premier League last season. Don't get me wrong, he did well in the Champions League as well, but it's not like he was absolutely banging him away across the season, is it? So when you think about, look, obviously I'm not saying anywhere near the likes of Bradley Barcola and Vinicius Jr. They're the top, right? And then you've got at the bottom at the moment is Anthony Gordon for 70 mil. Although I'd like to have seen Anthony Gordon at Chelsea, don't get me wrong. Like, I wouldn't have wanted it to be for more than like 50. And then you've got a Pedro Neto who arguably I think did better than Anthony Gordon in the Premier League last season. Played okay in the Champions League as well. Obviously nowhere near the likes of Barcola and Vinny Jr. obviously, but they're all going for like 160, 170 mil. So what does that make Pedro Neto? For me, it feels like 70, 80 million euros, which is probably like 65 to 75 million pounds, something like that. Just based on how the market's going at the moment, it's absolutely wild. Liverpool potentially interested. If I imagine a Saudi club, I could see a Saudi club paying 80 million for Pedro Neto. They just paid 80 million. Also, this is the other thing about the winger market, right? Crescencio Somerville, Al Hilal paid 80 million pounds, dollars. Not sure which delineation of money it was actually, but they paid 80 million of something for Crescencio Somerville. Pedro Neto had a better season than Crescencio Somerville. I mean, maybe not in numbers. I guess there's an argument to be had there, but at the same time, he's not worth less, is he, when it comes down to it, because he's, you know, a bit older, more Premier League experience, Champions League experience as well. So look, It's just wild, isn't it? So tell me in the comments, like, how much do you think Pedro Neto's worth? Like, in this crazy market. When the market first opened, I'd have been like 50, 55. Yeah, cool. You know, get back what we paid for him, a little bit more, like, wicked. But we're having to consider these absolutely astronomical prices that are popping up all over the shop at the moment. And in that crazy market, where does Pedro Neto fall? And guys, if you've made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sink, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, next up, we're going to talk about the never-ending deal that is Trevoh Chalobah to Como. Pice posted this: Chelsea have rejected Como's bid for Trevoh Chalobah and want more than 25 mil to sell. Como are now exploring different options at centre-back. Oh, mate, this is... this is turning into the Xavi Simons of last season, isn't it? Not in terms of like the money or anything, but just, you remember, and it was Fabrizio Romano, and it's Fabrizio Romano now. Every single day, Fabrizio Romano is telling us what Trevoh Chalobah is having on toast in pertaining to his deal for Como. It's absolutely wild, and every single day it keeps changing. Yesterday, like 2 days ago, it was up to 25 mil. Yesterday, it was 26 mil, and now we've rejected the bid, and... I don't even know, man. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the thing is, Inter Milan were interested in him as well. They obviously didn't want to pay more than that because Como, there was this whole thing. Como were like, oh, well, if he wants to go to Inter, then we'll drop out. Inter obviously didn't want to pay what we asked for him. So Como were like, oh, maybe we'll come back in for that conversation. And how was Trevoh Chalobah not getting sold for 30 mil? Like, this is wild. Like, I know, and maybe it's kind of part of our own fault because we're so keen to get rid of him, right? And we have been for such a long time now. At this point, just keep him. Like, for me, send Josh Achiampong out on loan to Crystal Palace for a season, keep Trevoh Chalobah, and let's just stop talking about it. Look, they're going to want the book money at the end of the day. And he is valuable. He is valuable. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. I just don't get where all this is coming from. But Chelsea Dodgers posted this. Chelsea told Como the new bid of £21.3 million plus 4.2 million for Trevoh Chalobah is not enough. Chelsea wants more than 25.6 to sell. Trevoh is still keen and likely to move, although Como are exploring other options. So... is it, obviously the Maxence Lacroix deal is over the line now, and because of the new rules that have come in, where if you sell a player to a club that you've just bought a player from within 45 days of it happening, it counts as a swap deal, and you're only allowed to book the net profit on the book. So, that doesn't really work for anyone. Because if we sell, for instance, Trevoh Chalobah to Crystal Palace now, we paid 52 mil for Maxence Lacroix. That means you'd have to minus 30 off of that. And instead of being able to register £52 million on their books, they could only register £22 million on their books. So maybe Crystal Palace is an option. Like, Crystal Palace, this rule has kind of messed things up for us a little bit, to be honest. Because we're not able to now, unless we look at doing all these creative loans like we did with Alejandro Garnacho to Aston Villa, it's not just easy to do what we have been doing, where it's like we sell you one, you sell us one, and we've been taking advantage of that quite a lot. So look, I still think Trevoh Chalobah will be sold. Like, my thing is like, let's just keep him at this point. But I mean, Como are literally like adding pennies. I say pennies, it's £1 million, it's a lot. But Como are just adding such a small amount one at a time, and they are now looking for alternative options as well. This is the other part of it, isn't it? Maybe that is Mamadou Sarr on a loan. I don't know. It seems like it felt like there was a fairly good relationship going on between Como and Chelsea when this deal sort of came out, but it just seems it feels like we're on the other side of the Pep Chavaria deal, right? But I don't feel like we're being like Rayo Vallecano, where we're asking for too much. I think £30 million for Trevoh Chalobah is reasonable. Someone just come and pay it. Get the boy a home. Right, next up, we're going to keep talking about centre-backs. We're going to talk a little bit about John Stones. Chelsea have posted this via the Cy Phillips Sport Sub Stack. Exclusive, Chelsea have revived talks for John Stones after receiving more encouraging signals from the defender's camp. Negotiations are ongoing over contract terms and wages, with a free transfer still viewed as a difficult but possible deal. So, the other news has come out as well, saying that John Stones is like, yeah, he's like up for it. He's into the idea of moving to Chelsea, and I think that makes sense. I think he's the perfect foil for Levi Colwill. I don't think we should play Levi Colwill every single game, because as good as he is literally coming off the back of an ACL, so we do need to be careful. John Stones is the best passing centre-back in the Premier League, maybe, so, it's probably going to suit that role quite well, albeit you don't expect him maybe to play more than 15 to 20 games a season. Wicked. The issue with that, John Stones will be on bank. I don't actually know how much he's on, but he's been at Man City for 10 years and they've won 8 Premier Leagues and he's won 20 trophies all in all. Do you know what I mean? 2 trophies every single season, and his money probably will have kept on creeping up over that time. So John Stones is probably going to be on quite a lot more than the majority of players in our squad are on at the moment, and we like to do this thing where it's like, you come in on this wage, meet these criteria, and we'll pay you more money. But John Stones has been used to just getting a bag all the time, so that's probably where the difficulty in the negotiation is. And I can't get behind this idea of just pay the money, do you know what I mean? Because it's not about the money, it's about the other players at this point. It's like, I don't care, like, if John Stones wants 300k a week, actually that does sound like a lot, but at the same time, if you really want a player, I'm not against paying him the wages that he wants in terms of the money side of it and what we do with the money. My issue is like Levi Colwill, Moise Caicedo, Cole Palmer, João Pedro, everyone's taking a pay cut because we're not in the Champions League. So if you bring in a John Stones and pay him an absolute wedge and he only plays 20 games a season, you're going to put some noses out of joint. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's just normal, isn't it? It's normal. You know, if imagine you were at work and someone who is doing the exact same job as you do, but works only, you know, half of the time, and, you know, but they're experienced or whatever. But if you're doing the exact same job as someone else and they get paid like double what you're on, then you're going to be like, hold on, what's going on here? Like, it's the most normal thing in the world. It doesn't matter how much you scale up the amount, right? Because in football terms, like, all of these guys in the changing rooms, they're all in and around the same sort of pay. Obviously, the youngsters will be getting paid a lot less. But like I say, it doesn't for me really matter how much money you're earning. Like, if something like this happens, you're in the world that you're in. And if John Stones or anyone else comes in, this is like, what was his name? Ibrahim Konate, we were linked with a little bit before he went to Real Madrid, because that was a free transfer. Man wanted like 400k a week. Do you know what I mean? Michael Olise wanted 250, I think, something like that, which was a lot more than the rest of the squad were on at the time. So that was another reason why we didn't go and get Michael Olise. It's not just about paying the money, it's about, we've implemented this system, which I think is a good system, and I think we should do whatever we can to protect this system to avoid mercenaries coming into the club. So this is just the difficult, and it's not just about John Stones, it's one of the reasons in general why we don't just go out and get all of the best players in the world. Like, Morgan Rogers will have agreed to this deal. Do you know what I mean? Morgan Rogers will have agreed to the base salary, improves with performance, and if you get into the Champions League, everyone gets a pay bump. So even going out and spending £117 million on Morgan Rogers, he'll still be on the same kind of deal that Cole Palmer's on and Moise Caicedo's on and stuff like that. It's just how it works. So look, I hope we find a way to get this over the line. I would really like to see John Stones at the club. I just think it's a good idea. Leader, experience, like winning mentality, you know, so many good reasons. And ultimately a player that wouldn't complain if he wasn't in the starting 11 every week as well, which also I think is really important. So guys, let me know what you think about John Stones and the money situation in the comments. Right, next up, still from Chelsea Hub, also via the Cy Phillips Sport Sub stack. Chelsea have reopened talks with Bournemouth for Alex Scott after convincing the midfielder of their project. The Blues remain determined to sign him but won't overpay, while wider midfield plans could also hinge on the futures of Bruno Guimaraes and Enzo Fernandez. So look, Alex Scott seems like a good player. The Adam Wharton news seems to have gone quiet for the time being, but that doesn't mean it's not happening, because, you know, PR has been put out a lot for, you know, for instance, that vis-a-vis Alex Scott himself, the PR that came out like the few days or the week before was like, no, we're not interested in Alex Scott. Then we had a bid rejected for him. So look, you know, anything could happen at this point. It's like, you know, we follow the news that's available from the sources that get leaked or whatever, and largely that's going to be coming from other clubs. But at the same time, it looks like we might be going back in for Alex Scott. Now, how much is too much for Alex Scott? 64 mil was the bid we had knocked back. It's not going to be, we're not going to pay 80 to 100 mil for Alex Scott. It might be a case of something like 70 with 10 add-ons or 70 with 5 add-ons or something like that. And then it just comes all the way down to if Bournemouth want to let him go for that at the end of the day. Like, he's not got very long left on his contract, so they are playing a precarious game. The thing with Alex Scott is there's some belief that if he doesn't sign with another club this, because he's rejected a contract offer from Bournemouth already, so as it is right now, Alex Scott is like, I'm leaving, and he's only got like 1.5 years left on his deal. But there is some belief that if he hasn't signed for another club by the end of this window, he might sign a deal with Bournemouth, which puts him on more pay while he stays there, and then they can implement some sort of release clause, as they did with Antoine Semenyo. And that's the thing. So he's in the situation now where he does actually kind of have the control. He can't force a move right now, But if he doesn't get the move he wants, he could see out his contract for a year and a half. He's 22 years old right now. He'll only be 24 by the time his Bournemouth contract is up. And he's got to be thinking as well, like, obviously Bournemouth did so well last season with Andoni Iraola at the helm. And now Andoni Iraola's gone. They're losing players. Senesi's already gone. Obviously, Semenyo went in January. Do you know what I mean? That's when he went to Man City. So even though they're in Europe, it's like they've got a new manager. They're having to rebuild their squad again. And is Alex Scott like, well, I don't know about this. Do you know what I mean? Maybe things are going to change. And if they don't go as well, you know, I wouldn't necessarily expect Alex Scott to just come out and sign a new contract if he doesn't move. But also, I don't think that it's impossible for him to get this move this summer. He supposedly has indicated that he's interested in the Chelsea project. And why wouldn't he be? It looks really good, doesn't it? I do like the look of him. He can play a bit of the Caicedo role. He can play a role next to him where he transitions the ball from defence to attack with dribbling and beating his man. Not necessarily the Adam Wharton type. More athletic, got, you know, a bit more about him in terms of that kind of thing. So I like the look of the player. I don't know what overpaying for him is. Like, I don't know what overpaying for anyone is. If paying £117 million for Morgan Rogers and it's like Real Madrid wanting €160 million for a Vinny Jr. that's got 1 year left on his deal, and PSG wanting €170 million, which is about 150 million quid for a Bradley Barcola who has been it's been in the news for a while that he's going to leave. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't even know what this means anymore. But it makes it really difficult. Like, the power is generally in the hands of the selling club at the moment. You know, even the players can't force moves, really. Like, Pep Chivardia hasn't been able to force his way out of Rayo Vallecano. Granit Xhaka was not able to force his way out of Sunderland. And Enzo Fernandez from our camp has not been able to force his way out of Chelsea yet either. So the power really does lie with the selling clubs this summer. Tell me what you think about Alex Scott. Is he the guy that we should go for? And how much do you think would be overpaying for him? Right, sticking with the Cy Phillips Sports Substack, Chelsea have posted this. Chelsea are advancing in talks to sign Kerem Alay-Begovic after Xabi Alonso personally convinced the player to choose Stamford Bridge. A fee close to £30 million is being discussed, with a loan move potentially back to Bayer Leverkusen still a possibility after the transfer is completed. So look, I've seen a couple of people at the moment being like, why are we looking at this kid when we've already got Jesse Derry? This is the model, right? And the thing is, Xabi Alonso likes the look of Kerem Alay-Begovic and is like, yeah, get this kid. I had him at Bayer Leverkusen. He's going to go on to be really good, and he has been so far. Like 13 goals last season in the Austrian league. Obviously got a few in the World Cup for Bosnia as well. Like, really, really impressive. Good young player. Jesse Derry, I'm going to talk about him in a minute as well. Over at Sporting Lisbon at the moment, scored a golazo, which was absolutely phenomenal. So people are like, why are we even looking at this guy? And it's like, because Bluco. Look, that's the answer to the question. Because Bluco, like, we have the model was changed pertaining to the first team, pertaining to sporting to success in the now for the club, right? Xabi Alonso's been brought in. We're looking at experience targets. He's getting more control of the team. He's been given the keys to the castle, if you will. But Bluco's still going to be Bluco in. That's never going to change. The thing that has changed is filling the first team full of kids and trying to get into the Champions League and win trophies. Very, very, very difficult. And Xabi Alonso has obviously been a big part of changing that pertaining to the first team, but that's how they want to make money. At the end of the day, Kerem Alay-Begovic, if we buy him for 30 mil, loan him back to Bayer Leverkusen, he has a good season, we have the choice to bring him into the first team, we have the choice to let him stay at Bayer Leverkusen, we have the choice to sell him on to someone else if he has a phenomenal season and someone wants to pay 40 to 50 mil for him. It's all profit on the books, isn't it? Same with Jesse Derry, man. Same with Jesse Derry. Jesse Derry's not a Chelsea boy. We bought him from Crystal Palace. London boy, though. But at the same time, all of these young players, including the likes of Reggie Walsh, Kavuma McQueen, Reggie Watson, Landon Emanalo is being spoken about really highly at the moment. They're all potential profit. All of them. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. Bluco are going to continue to carry on buying young players for the future. That's not going to change. I like the look of Kerem Alay-Begovic, but I'm not letting myself get too excited by any play. Do you know what? This is the thing that's changed, right? 5, 6 years, it was 10 years ago, whatever, like in the Roman era, you'd get excited about the young players and you'd go out and spend however much on a Papi Digibody or a Timu Bakayoko and you'd be like, yeah, whatever, that just is what it is. Now for me, it's completely come full circle and it's gone the other way around. When we are linked to 18-year-old players that are smashing it in their leagues, I'm like, yeah, whatever, that just is what it is. And now when we're linked to like a 25-year-old plus, I'm like, yes, cool, wicked. This is what I'm looking for. It's crazy how it's all changed. But yeah, I think think Karim Alay-Begovic looks like a good player. I think a lot of the noise around the deal has been about him being bought to go on loan. There's maybe a chance that he gets an opportunity in pre-season. I'm not 100% sure, but at the same time, as much as I like the look of the player, and I'll be excited if we buy him, of course I will, he's just one of a myriad of young players that we've got in the squad that may or may not make it. They may get sold on, they may be sold for profit, they may get into the first team. We'll just have to see what happens. But either way, looks like a good player, and I wouldn't be disappointed to see him come into the team. Right, I spoke a little bit about Jesse Derry. Just wanted to repost this from Chelsea Dodgers, who posted this via his Instagram. Jesse Derry just scored a banging goal in what has kick-started his season-long loan at Sporting Lisbon. Jesse Derry said, "Thank you for the warm welcome, Alvalade." This kid looks mustard, man. This kid looks absolutely mustard. Like, and the goal was so good. Like, he really plays with a wisdom, I'll call it, of, you know, a player a few years older than him. And I think we already saw that in the few brief cameos he made for us. I'm so excited to watch Jesse Derry go out on loan. And this is the same as I was talking about with Alay-Begovic. Like, if we've got Jesse Derry on loan at Sporting Lisbon, and we've got Alay-Begovic on loan at Bayer Leverkusen, we send one of our other youngsters on loan to Strasbourg. These are good development loans, do you know what I mean? And one way or the other, it is impossible that all of these players are going to get into the first team. It's impossible. So we just have to temper our expectations, don't we? So it's just one of those. Jesse Derry is a homegrown player at the end of the day, which maybe gives him a little bit of an edge over anyone else that may or may not try and get into the squad in the future, because obviously we have to make that homegrown quota, and buying English players, as we've just seen, at the age of 23 can cost you £117 million. So maybe having a Jesse Derry saves us that in the future, and he takes over from Morgan Rogers one day, or maybe he just gets sold on. Who knows? But Jesse Derry does look like a wicked player, and I'm going to start doing a series this summer, when the season starts, called The Loan Watch. So if we get an Alay-Begovic, Jesse Derry, whoever we send to Strasbourg, I will be keeping us all up to date with them once a week. Right, next up, the boys are in Australia at the moment, and Chelsea Dodgers posted this about Romeo Lavia via Stan Sport FC. 2027 is about getting back to basics with the new manager, trying to implement his ideas as quickly as possible, and then to try to be successful, because that's what Chelsea are about. I find it interesting that Romeo Lavia did this interview, only because, you know, it's Lavia and he's never made a full 90 minutes. But at the same time, like, I've seen loads of the content in and around what's been going on in Australia. It looks really good. One of the guys in my comment section, and Jay from Talking Chelsea's comment sections, and our podcast, the Talking Chelsea podcast, which you should check out if you haven't already, a lad called Tim sent us over. He's Australian. He lives in Australia. He's at that training camp, and he sent us a load of footage and images from what's going on in it. Little wicked. So Tim, thanks very much for that, man. It was awesome. But yeah, the vibes are looking good, man. But vibes are one thing. How's the training going? So Nazar Kinsella posted an article on the BBC, which has been reposted on Twitter by Chelsea Dodgers, or an excerpt from it at least. It was notable that Xabi Alonso had a large coaching staff working in a well-drilled manner, but there was no preference shown to established stars such as Palmer over players such as 16-year-old Reggie Watson and Mardi Nicole Jazuli. So the thing that's wicked about that is this is the Xabi Alonso effect, the beginning of it, right? Because he comes in and he treats everyone the same. And that's really good. We need that. Do you know what I mean? Is like, so I mentioned on a podcast I did with Jay a little while ago that one of the things I really liked about Xabi Alonso's first interview, you know, the first press conference that he did, do you know what he didn't say once that every other manager we've had has said? Oh, it's a young squad. It's a young squad. It's a young squad. Always talking about it's a young squad. Enzo Maresca said it. Liam Rosenior said it. Graham Potter said it. Mauricio Pochettino said it. And they're all right. Xabi Alonso didn't say it. Xabi Alonso not once in that interview referred to the fact that we have such a young squad. And that's good, because his idea is it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, if you've got the talent, you've got the talent. And if you are not mature enough to express your talent and be a professional, then you're not going to get into the team. So he's going to have to fast track some of these guys in terms of maturity, right? And that's a really good thing for some of these academy players as well. There's some talks about Landon Emenalo, who supposedly absolutely smashing it at the moment, and might be one of the reasons why we haven't dug our, you know, proper gone in for Pep Chavaria. But I saw some videos and stuff of Xabi Alonso spending time with the academy players, spending time with the kids, not just focusing on the established players like your Palmers, your Pedros, your Caicedos. I do think that's really, really good. I like the fact that Xabi Alonso has got such a big team. He trusts them so much, but also I like the fact that at the moment, especially right now, everyone's being treated the same. Everyone's being given the same opportunity. We need to get this idea out that, so if we're going to go forward with this model of having lots of young players in the squad, that's fine, but you can't use it as a safety net. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah, young players of the future, but they're only young players. Like, it doesn't work like that, man. It's like, right, okay, cool. You've made the decision to fill your team full of young players. Brilliant. Cool, let's do that. But that means you can't use it when things go wrong and be like, oh, but they're young players. Like, no, and Xabi Alonso seems to be exuding that already, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And just one little thing to wrap up from Chelsea Dodgers via Nazar Kinsella. Justin Kenda will be joining the preseason tour in Asia. So, unfortunately, Emmanuel Omega will be out for the rest of the preseason. And look, what's going to happen with him? Don't know. If he doesn't get the preseason, does that mean that he gets a loan out somewhere instead? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, especially with Nicholas Jackson still yet to come back and make an appearance in preseason and try and prove himself to Xabi Alonso. Same with Liam Delap as well. No, Liam Delap's there. Sorry. I misspoke. Kenda's going to be a potentially important player for us this season. I think I've just got this feeling that he's going to be a left wing back option because I'm still envisioning this three at the back. You know, regardless of us playing a 4-2-3-1 in pre-season, that doesn't really say anything yet. But it was disappointing because Emmanuel Omega and Kenda, their injuries were announced at the same time. But Kenda's going to be back for the majority of the pre-season tour. He's just missing the Australia leg of it. So that's really good. It was a small minor injury. And it's good that they treated it like they did at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like Kenda, you know, it's pre-season. Do you know what I mean? We need to slow it down. It's pre-season. If someone's got an injury, absolutely not worth risking it. So I'll be very happy to see Giovanni Kenda back in pre-season and hopefully get some game time. So guys, that's it. We're going to start wrapping the video up, but I want to know what you think about everything that we've talked about today. Pedro Neto. How much is Pedro Neto worth in today's market? Trevoh Chalobah and Como. It's probably not going to happen, is it? Do we still try and sell Trevoh Chalobah, or do we just keep him at this point? John Stones. So the deals, or the conversation, seems to be advancing with John Stones. But is the wages going to be an issue? Is he going to be? Do you think he's going to be willing to be like, yeah, I'll get paid less initially, like Reece James did, for instance, when he signed his new deal, and then be like, I'm happy to try and make it up in appearances or performance-based add-ons or whatever. Alex Scott, potentially still on the market. Is he your midfielder of choice? It's looking very much like we're going to get the deal over the line for Kerim Alay-Begovic and potentially loan him back to Bayer Leverkusen. Jesse Derry's absolutely smashing it in Portugal at the moment. Romeo Lavia has sage words about what Chelsea need to do next season. Xabi Alonso was treating the whole squad as one. Absolutely love that. And Giovanni Kenda will be back before we know it. Nice one, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did, and I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.